Okay, let us know when you start. Okay, we can get started. So welcome everybody to our first Friday forum. We're really excited to have Assistant City Manager Jeff Oris talk to us today. I figured I would just go through quickly what the chamber events are while we're waiting for people to log on. We're starting to get there. So we'll let you know what's going on. All right, Sarah, do you got our presentation?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. So May's already been busy. We've already had a Delray Morning Live. We've already had ambassadors meeting. We've already had nonprofit council, and it's only the first Friday. But we do have some great events coming up in the next week or so that we just wanted to let you guys know about. And the first one coming up is going to be the Chairman's Club Luncheon. And Michael, if you're there now. Do you want to tell them a little bit? Because this was your brainchild.
Yeah. Well, what we're going to be doing is we are having the CRAs and Renee and Twee meet with us for two purposes. First of all, it's obviously a banner year for real estate in South Florida. And therefore, there's a lot of things cooking at both the local CRAs. But as you'll notice, the role of women in real estate, which used to be as dominated a male industry as possibly Hollywood was, is changing. And that's a really important shift. And we want to highlight how that's changed, the opportunities that are open, and what it is that we're going to be doing over the next decades. In making real estate an inclusive environment and one where we're going to see participation with great diversity. So those are the themes, and I look forward to everybody being there. As always, we're going to keep it light and fun, but I think you'll get a lot of practical information. Thank you. Did you get a couple?
And the date again? What the date and time?
It's May 11th. Are we starting about probably about 11:45? I'd assume. Steph, when do we open the doors?
Quarter to 12.
Stephanie needs to unmute.
My mouse isn't working. Sorry, guys. So it's May 11th. We will get there around 11:30, and about 11:45 we'll get started. We'll introduce our speakers and our host, which is Michael. We'll give everybody a chance to eat lunch. It's plated lunch. It's really nice at the Aloft Hotel. And then we're going to do a panel. So we've got a lot of great questions and answers from Renee Jadasingh from the Delray Beach CRA and Twee Shutt from the Boynton Beach CRA. So it'll be really interesting. The very next day at the Aloft Hotel, we've got the spring membership breakfast, and the theme is summer fun for locals. So it's going to be such an interesting day. We're going to talk a little bit about tourism and the tourism master plan. We've got about 12 or 14 attractions that are going to be there. So they'll be there early in the morning. They'll be set up. They'll all have tables. You'll be able to network quite a bit that morning. And then we're going to have all of them just share what great summer specials that they have coming up for locals. We'll have, I think Space and Mind is going to be there to talk a little bit about their summer programming for kids, and Oceanside Beach Services and Murakami. You'll get to hear everything that's going on in the summer because people come from all over the world to be in our town, and we need to act like we're tourists in our own town. So the spring membership breakfast is going to be very lively and fun, and there'll be a lot of fun giveaways too. So you definitely need to sign up for that. So that's Thursday, May 12th. On the 13th, on Friday, we have our Chamber U series. And it's about learning to scale your business. And I've had a couple of small businesses both here and in Europe. And the hardest thing for me to learn was to learn to scale, because you get to a certain level, you need to hire more people, but then you need to get more clients to hire more people. So scaling is it's like a crystal ball. And we've got Jackie Ramirez from the SBDC, who's an expert in this, and she's going to be talking about that. So that's Friday. Lunch is included. It's here at the chamber. It's going to be a very busy week next week. The following week, We've got a Focus on Women event. It's called Sip and Share. So that's also a free event, Focus on Women. And we're going to be able just to get in and talk a little bit about work-life balance. So we're going to talk to each other. It's going to be very interactive. And that's on May 17th. I think it starts around 3:30. Our Contacts and Cocktails is going to be at Las Catrinas on May 19th. If you haven't been to Las Catrinas, you've got to come to that. It's so much fun. It's a very lively environment, and we can't wait to do that there. And then the young professionals will be meeting on May 25th at the Miso Beach House. In case you haven't been there either, that's right on the Intercoastal. It's across from Deck 84. It's a beautiful environment. And of course, the YPAD group always has a great time. So that's what's going on at the Chamber in May. So we have a very busy week next week. We hope to see a lot of you.
You forgot one event, Stephanie.
What did I forget?
You forgot the Chamber affiliate, the nonprofit affiliate, Delray Chamber Education Fund is having its spring fundraiser on May 12th
right.
at 6:30 at the Arts Garage. And we have about, it's called Last Teacher Standing. And we have about 8 or so teachers that each going to get a chance to give their shtick before a live audience. Most of them have never done that before. It should be a lot of fun. And it's hosted by our very own Jamel. So $25 is your ticket. It supports education, public schools in Delray Beach. We all know we need that. So please come on out, have a fun night at the Arts Garage, May 12th at 6:30 for a great night and supporting our education.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I've got to get my ticket for that. So next week's a busy Chamber week. It's definitely a Chamber week for us next week. So that's it for Chamber announcements, but I'm going to hand it over to the host and you can introduce our speaker for today.
Well, I had never met Jeff yet, so I don't know much about him. I heard a lot of good things.
Okay, I'll introduce our speaker for today then. So I really
take it away, Stephanie.
wanted Jeff to speak to.
By the way, this is a small town chamber, but the enthusiasm is so over the top that if you don't love this town, then I don't know that there's no place in the face of the earth you're gonna be able to be happy. Go ahead,
Well,
Steph.
We're really excited to have Jeff Oris today. When I first met him, he was supposed to be coming on and talking to everyone while he's new, but he's been here for several months. So that's like in dog years for us. He's like knows everything about Delray Beach right now. But he's got such an interesting background because he's worked for chambers, CRAs, and cities. So super interesting background. And that's why I wanted all of you to get to know him a little bit better. So that's enough of preamble, Jeff. You're the subject matter expert on yourself. So please, before we talk about the initiatives in the city, I want you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
All right, here's the tough part, because I don't always run around and talk about myself, although it is a topic I know a whole lot about. So I do know where I've been, and I can convey that. I think what Stephanie really wants me to tell you is kind of that diversity I've had in my background that's very much related to the initiatives that the Chamber has been involved in and gets involved in. I'll simply tell you the education, which was years ago. I have a bachelor's degree in labor relations from Cornell, and I have a master's in public administration from Syracuse. So yes, I am a New York boy gone south, but I have been in South Florida for over 30 years now. So I feel like I've almost grown into a native. I came down here, and my very first experience was with the Coral Springs Chamber of Commerce. So I spent 3 years as the Vice President for Economic Development and Community Development at Coral Springs Chamber of Commerce back years ago. So I certainly understand the purpose of a chamber, what it does. I've worked with small business members and of course some of the large business members as well. So I have understanding where the chamber's coming from, why you all are there, its mission, what it does, what it should do, what it doesn't do, all of that. So that's my real base of my career moving forward, was that first couple of years doing that. From there, I've worked with a succession of cities in short periods of time. It was a recession when I jumped in. So nobody had anything really well done, but I'd worked for the cities of Tamarack and Wilton Manors and North Miami Beach in various roles under city managers doing here and there things. And then my career really took off as I hit the city of Margate down in Broward County, from which I was the economic development coordinator, working out of the city manager's office. And I was the one who created and was the first executive director of their redevelopment agency, which encompasses basically all of the commercial districts of the city of Margate. And what we were trying to do there was figure out a way to create an environment where the businesses would thrive. It was very much focused on the commercial areas and what was going on there. For those of you who may have driven down the 441 State Road 7 corridor through Margate, it's not all that pretty. And it has very, very old infrastructure as far as commercial properties go. So we were working on trying to convert that and make it a more modern area and bring more activity to that pass-through area. Not a destination like Delray beaches. So we were working on some of that. From there, I actually moved on, did a number of other things, worked in the private world, doing mostly redevelopment consulting and downtown work, marketing plans for cities. One of the things I focused in was the firm I was working for, PMG Associates out of Deerfield Beach. We would go into a city and do a market study. What types of businesses are missing from your market environment? How do you attract those businesses here? What type of space do you have that may be appropriate for those? So it was all very much small business focused. What do you do with your downtown? What do you do with your strip centers? How do you make that work for the commercial areas? Did that for about 4 or 5 years, moved on, became the community development director in Martin County. In that role, I was responsible for affordable housing, historic preservation, their 7 CRA districts, and economic development in the county. I did everything from preparing their very first package of incentives related to land use, all the way to spending money from federal grants that they had gotten due to the hurricanes in the early 2000s. So there's a lot going on there. Spent a couple of years doing that, moved on from there back into the consulting world, did some other things there as well. I'm not going to go too deep into those. There are little projects here and there all over the state and the country. Went back into the government world as the economic development director in Miami Beach, where I was mostly responsible for 3 things: finding a convention center hotel, staffing a mayoral blue ribbon committee on Ocean Drive, the place where every time spring break comes along, you see all the mess. We were trying to figure out how to prevent that mess. I'm not sure how successful we were because you keep hearing about it, but I was deep in the middle of that. But the largest chunk of my time was actually spent on how do we redevelop and get more business activity going in the North Beach area of the city. Everybody hears about South Beach. Most folks don't know there's a Mid Beach and a North Beach as well. North Beach is very much a more of an affordable housing area, and where most of the folks who work at the hotels live. There's minimal commercial activity going on up there. There's only a few hotels up in that area. Many have converted to condos, so they've lost a lot of their commercial clout over the years. So we put together a long-range plan for that. One of the things that I always love talking about is that plan. We engaged Dover Cole, a consulting firm out of Miami, new urbanist consulting firm, to assist us with that. But one of the things I bring this up for is I am a huge fan of public involvement and transparency. I believe you get all your issues on the table up at front and you can work them through before you come forward for approval. Hopefully you have the community behind you when you go for approval because you've addressed the issues. It's not a government creates it and throws it downward and imposes it. It's really, let's create it all together and bring it up. So in that plan in North Beach, we had over 30 public meetings, and it had one of the proudest moments of my career when we unveiled to the public the absolute final plan. There's a movie theater in North Beach that's owned by the city. We had our unveiling there. It has a capacity of 350 people. I think there might have been 4 seats available. It was the largest public meeting I ever participated in. The greatest thing that happened is one woman got up and started attacking the plan. As I was walking to the microphone on the stage, people in the public started going, well, what are you talking about? That item's covered on page 12. And she brings up another item. People start going, no, that's on page 79. And she starts going, well, nobody told me about these meetings. I wasn't a part of it. And everybody went, well, we were all there. Where were you? So our public involvement really became a plan of the public, to the point where the consultants and I didn't have to defend it, the public defended it. So to have something that I hope we have the opportunity to create documents and plans and studies in the city where we get to that point where the public is defending it because it's their plan. They created it. They hammered out all the issues before it got to a point where it's voted on by the elected officials. So it was so easy in that city to get that plan adopted for that simple reason. We went out, we addressed every issue, we talked to every business, we talked to all the property owners. There was a major compromise made between historic preservationists and developers in that city to make that plan happen. I'm very, very proud to have been a part of that, and I hope that I can recreate that when we need that here in Delray. From there, again, I went back out to the private sector. Most recently, my largest client before I came here actually was the city of Naples, in which I was essentially their executive director of their CRA under contract, and I was working with their business community to do a master plan for one of their areas, which is actually coming to a head now. Unfortunately, I had to leave before that was adopted. Again, we did an entire 10-day public charrette to get input on that so that we wouldn't have problems as it moved forward. The community there has really embraced this plan. If you look at the Naples Daily News, they've had some articles about how quickly this is kind of moving through the process, how much people are embracing some of the really interesting concepts of that plan. I've come here, and from there, I'm now here as the assistant city manager. I have been assigned to oversee development services, IT, purchasing, the city clerk's office. This is the Office of Sustainability and Economic Development. I'm happy to be here. We're working on all of those areas to improve and make things a little bit more efficient as we move forward. And from here, I can probably move into some of the initiatives of the city. Of course, I want to leave a chance if anybody wants to have any questions about where I came from, things I did. I'm more than happy to answer those now before I move on to some of the key city projects we're working on right now. Anyone?
Well, I think you obviously
All right.
have clearly a very strong background and development, but also what's most important to me is the inclusiveness. This is what Delray had been known for in past years, is all the charrettes that we used to do. So it's good that you see that and you can bring that, to Delray and bring that experience.
One of the really unique things about being here in Delray is my very first experience with a public involvement meeting was actually one of the first days of a charrette for Coconut Grove here in Delray. Somebody had told me about this process and how it worked and the things that were happening here. Delray was just coming to prominence at the time that I reached South Florida. And so I said, hey, I should go up there and check it out. And so I actually participated in one of the first meetings here. It was over at the fire station, and was happy to do that. And I should also tell you, my connection to Delray started there. But I have actually, this is the one thing I like to brag about when I'm here. I have actually been personal acquaintances with every single executive director of the CRA here in Delray Beach, back to
Mr. Brown.
Chris Brown?
Go back further to Mr. Finley,
Oh my goodness.
even
That's
before Chris.
You got street cred.
So he and I had the opportunity, Mr. Finley and I had the opportunity a couple times to go for coffee and talk about the creation of the Delray CRA and some of his background. And I've been very close with Chris Brown over the years and have done work with him when we were both consultants as well. So while I've not been involved here, I've always had some idea of what was going on here, which made it so much easier for me to be here. And one of the reasons why I'm really happy to be here is understanding the history, some of the history of the city. I'm not going to say I know it all, but I have some idea of where things have come from here. So really happy to be here.
Everybody knows I'll go where Wiseman fear to tread. The most difficult thing that we have, that you have such background in, is bringing a consensus together on the issue of affordable housing. We can't, generally speaking, the voters, the residents, they always believe that affordability means, in quotations, air quotes, projects. They always have in their minds those big block buildings in New York, and we can't seem to get anyone to believe that density is not the devil. The other problem that goes with that is that the association of traffic, of all things, because intensity means traffic, and traffic is like the death knell to anyone coming to town to live inside the borders of the city. What do we do? How do we get the message out? You have any thoughts on that? Because I think you're going to be seeing quite a bit of that as we move forward. I work with the Housing Leadership Council. A minimum unit can't cost less than $250,000 for the smallest apartment complex or unit anywhere. Most units, not the profits of some developer, most units are heading towards $350,000. So affordability is just staring us right in the face. Is there a magic bullet? Do we got something coming?
There's never a magic bullet when it comes to affordable housing. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. One of the things that I always like to tell people is they go, hey, why don't the developers do this? Well, a developer does a project, they get a construction loan, and then they get their final project loan. An affordable housing developer comes in, they have to cobble together money from probably 16 or 17 different sources, many of which have requirements that conflict with some of the other sources. So it is a very involved, difficult thing to do. I got to tell you, one of the things that's really interesting about Delray, particularly through its CRA, we've done some really great things here already. Under the radar, people don't really realize these things are out there, but we have done them over time. Many CRAs kind of ignore the affordable housing issues. Always happy to see Delray right in the thick of it, trying to do what it can. So we have a lot going on, but there's so much more needed. One of the things I always talk about, you bring up density. One of the mantras I go on all the time is it's design, not density. People think density is big, bulky buildings. You can do things that don't appear bulky, don't appear big. They may be big. One of my favorite examples for anybody who's been to Key West is you look at the, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the hotel now, in Duval, the old historic hotel. I've stayed there many times and I don't remember that. You all may know what I'm talking about, but from in front of it, it's the tallest building on Duval Street, but it's not big and bulky unless you look at an aerial of it. And you see how much bulk they built onto that behind it, but incredibly well hidden behind the historic facade and landscape. You don't experience the bulk of that building. So it's not imposing on the community. And they have appropriate areas to access the parking lot so that it's not all coming in one spot and backing up on Duval Street. One of the keys whenever you do something that's a little bit more dense is making sure that the traffic is dispersed coming out so it doesn't back up. We have a lot of traffic issues in people's minds now because the economy has come back. I mean, as much as we have inflation and we've got some other issues, we have low unemployment, people are working, they're out on the road. So we have a lot more traffic. It's not new development, it's people going back to work. New development adds, when you have large projects, yes, they do add. The key for them is to work with them to spread out their start times. If you have everybody at a large business of whatever kind it may be showing up at the same time during rush hour, of course, there's going to be traffic issues. If they have their start time staggered, so people come in an hour before rush hour starts, an hour after, boy, it really spreads things out. I did some work up in the Panhandle with one of the bases up there in the city I was working with to try to have them start their call times differently for different units within the base. because they started off, everybody was coming in during rush hour. When they spread it out, traffic magically disappeared. I mean, yeah, there was a little bit of more than there was any other time, but when they spread start times out for different units, the traffic got spread out over a 3-hour period instead of all at once. It was really amazing the change that happened. So it's working with people to do those sort of things to mitigate some of the traffic issues. Now, one of the things you're gonna see hitting the street, and you all know Sarah Maxfield. Sarah's been working on the city taking over the CRA's freebie accounts. So we have that out there, and the hope is we'll be able to expand that further. That's one of the ways we mitigate traffic is things like that, particularly at the high times when downtown's really bustling, to have people parking on the outer fringes or not trying to move their car from one side of the avenue to the other, get on freebie, move it around. We're trying to look at the opportunities to expand further out beyond downtown, so people further out can get downtown or get home without getting in their own vehicle. Those are the things we have to continuously look on. I know our development services department is looking at some opportunities for mobility fees, so we can look at funding all kinds of alternative modes of transportation. Those are the big things. It's not the affordable housing that's creating it. It's just the volume of people we have in South Florida, really overall. We don't have to do affordable housing as big, giant developments. As a matter of fact, that's not desirable. Every study that's ever been done about it shows that it works best actually when we mix people of different incomes. It brings the lower incomes up. It doesn't bring the upper incomes down. And one of the great things we have here is through the CLT, with funding from the CRA and with Habitat for Humanity working in town as well. We're doing individual homes here and there. We're looking at other opportunities. The Housing Authority has done their thing. We've got some great things going on here. We need to look for land to help some of those affordable developers. The county's coming forward with a housing plan right now that will have dollars behind it where we can make a great partner with them moving forward. It requires those affordable developers though. We have limited opportunities. So we really need to do a comprehensive view of where our opportunities exist and plan them out moving forward. One of the things that I'm a big fan of is making sure we have those plans so we know where we're going. It's really hard to undertake these things when you have no idea what resources you have, what might give you the biggest bang for the buck when you're trying to do it off the cuff. So we really need to look at, as far as affordable housing, where are our opportunities? Where are we going to be able to put the units we need, where we need them, and where can we find the funding to help do that? That's my long-winded answer to your question.
A great answer. We really appreciate it because it is something that you hit the nail on the head when you talked about trying to bring the citizenry around. It's so difficult. The concept that increasing density, having more people live inside the city limits is one of the smallest factors to traffic. And it sounds like you've got that down. And I don't know how we demonstrate this to them, but having another 1,000 families live in and around downtown will do less to increase traffic than badly timed lights. And it's almost impossible. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but truly a unit is only about 6 trips a day. And then if you go and look at any intersection and you realize I-95 is 250,000 cars a day. So it's a drop in the bucket. And if you have a better city and you can do affordability, so you'll miss a turn of the light. It's not the highest category on the quality of life. So I got on the soapbox. I'm sorry. But, maybe I should say.
I'll also say one of the things is we need to help people understand where traffic comes from, how that happens. We had a really interesting issue in Miami Beach when I was there. And one of the reasons I left there, it would take me an hour to get off the barrier island in the middle of season, just to get off the barrier island. And people would blame, and that got much longer in the short period of time I worked there. I worked there for 4 years. And people blamed it on development on the island. It had nothing at all to do with development on the island. Actually had a lot to do with development elsewhere in Miami-Dade County. Because what would happen is I-95 would back up, which would then back up the causeways, which then would cause the traffic on the beach. With limited ways off the island, and all of them would get backed up mostly because of I-95 traffic. So they thought it was generated on the beach, but it wasn't. So we need to look at where traffic is generated from actually. Is it people from elsewhere coming here to work? Is it our people leaving the city to work? How do we create more jobs in the city so that people don't have to get in their cars to do that? Sarah's doing a great job on trying to work on bringing some jobs to town in places where that will help. There's nothing better in the world than when you can walk out your front door and keep walking to work, not stopping in your driveway to get in your car. So we'll continue to work on those. The city's been working on those for years, but we'll continue that. We'll put a strong push on it, and we'll try to go out and continuously involve the public to explain its design over density, understand where your traffic is coming from. If you have people living near where the jobs are, they're not going to get in their car, so they're not to worry about it. And we'll continue looking for alternative mobility like freebie, shuttles, bicycles, any way people can get around that's not in a car by themselves. I've done a lot of affordable housing work as well. I worked with some folks who built some single family affordable homes in the city of Hallandale Beach, as well as it was actually one of the big items in that plan I was talking about we were doing in Naples as I left. We had brought in DPZ, a consulting firm of Andres Dewani, for those of you know, who's basically the grandfather of urbanism here. His firm did some great sketches of some fairly dense types of units that could go in infill spots in this area to show people that it's not about big and bulky, that you can design affordable units that fit in. And the public that attended our meeting, they had over 120 people at their unveiling. And while not as big as Miami Beach, still impressive whenever you get over 100 people at a public meeting. No one balked at it at all. And they have an affordable complex in the middle of this area. We talked about doubling the density, and density is also a major no-no in Naples right now. They're very much in a shut the doors, we're all here, stop growing. No one complained. They saw how it wouldn't infringe upon them. They saw how we could make connections from this public housing complex. It's not a public housing complex, it's a publicly funded complex. How we could make connections from there to the restaurants where a lot of these people work. Because again, much like we have here, although even there it's even a little more, very tourism-based economy. So a lot of lower paying jobs in an area that's very expensive to live in. So we just showed how those people can make it to their jobs, how it wouldn't be putting cars there, but they would continue to get the restaurants that they loved and wanted to have at a reasonable price, because you don't have to pay people ridiculous amounts of money because they have to drive in from 45 minutes away to work and make minimum wage. So that was a big issue there, and having those sort of visual aids to show people that this is not big, this is not imposing, here's where people go. Again, I'm reiterating everything I said already, but it's showing people. Most people are visual. Show them the pictures, explain to them in great detail. It takes a lot of time. You may have to do it one-on-one to get people to understand, but once the light bulb goes off, they become your greatest advocates and run around and share that information with their friends. And we really do need to undertake an effort like that here to let people know, it's a whole community. There's a reason you have people who don't make a whole lot of money in your community as well. The unfortunate thing with affordable housing is that often what brings it to the forefront is the fairly well-off people in town realize that their kids can't move back because there's no place for them to live. Instead of understanding, it's more about making sure that all those people who serve you and don't make a lot of money can be there too, so that they don't interfere with your lives with driving back and forth and having to come from a distance away and charging money.
Well, clearly,
that was a really long-winded
you thought through these things.
I'm a huge advocate of affordable housing because I see what a complete community it makes when you have it. And again, a huge supporter of the things that have been done here already. It's never enough, but Delray is far ahead of most places in what it's already done. And you can give great kudos to, again, the CRA, as well as the nonprofit partners, the Housing Authority, the CLT, Habitat for Humanity. They've all been active here and kept the city on a good pace thus far.
So let me just jump in here really quickly because we want you to tell us what's going on with respect to the city. I know the goal setting meeting is coming up next week. So what's happening in the city? And then we'll have time for people to ask you a couple questions too.
Okay, a couple things. You started off with our goal setting. That's going to happen next Friday. I think this year we're a little bit focused on what have we gotten from last year's goal setting, how we move forward, and figuring out, instead of trying to come up with all kinds of new projects, I have a feeling, I can't speak for the commission, but we're going to be probably looking a little bit more at updating where we were last year and how we make sure those things get finished. Whenever anybody does a goal setting strategies, it's real easy to come up with goals for the year and then sort of push them aside the next year, create new goals, push those aside next year, create new goals. So I think, I think Mr. Moore is advocating for, let's look at what you wanted last year, how far we've gotten, let's make sure we continue those, and then look at some additional things that are happening. So I think we're all really looking forward to having some additional direction for the upcoming year as we get into budget season as well. I know staff is anxious to get their marching orders on some of the new projects that we want to get involved in. And again, a very forward-thinking thing and something that I hope is going to be very exciting for all of us involved in it. And then as we go out to the public and talk about what we're going to be doing over the next year, I hope the public jumps in and these things really generate from the public to the commission and then into these goals for the year. So very much looking forward to that. There are a number of things already on our plate that we're working on. Happy to talk about some of those. I think we're all pretty happy that it looks like the George Bush Bridge finally might be staying open.
Yeah.
That was a concern for a while. I know I had a lot of conversations with Nancy Reagan up there at Delray Spa, trying to keep her and everybody up there informed on what was going on. Just so you know, our difficulties with that mostly were that we had an FDOT undertaken project going on the roadway. At the same time, the bridge created some mechanical problems, and it's a county operated bridge. So we were kind of stuck there trying to be traffic cop, letting everybody know what was going on. Well, we had no control over any of it. But it seems like we're coming to the conclusion the FDOT project is coming to an end. The county still has a bridge specialist maintaining or monitoring the bridge, and they're starting to look at a long-term design for replacement of the bridge. So that'll probably be upcoming in a couple of years. Knowing their process, it'll probably be 6 or 7 years before anything really happens. But I like to start with that one just because I know that was a hubbub for a while. The city, I know a lot of you have heard most recently about our water issue. There's no problem with our water. Here's to the utility. I'm drinking their water now. And the police department because it's their cup. Nothing wrong with the water. People love to pick up on things that are out there on social media or report in the paper one-sidedly. So anytime there's an issue, and I know we've had problems in the past, but we have a new utilities director who is probably one of the most ethical people I've ever bumped into, who knows exactly what his issues are at the utility. And we're working to update all of our water treatment plant and all. We're out there looking for additional outside funding for that and moving forward with the design on a water treatment plant. There should be an RFP out for design build for that within the next couple of weeks. So we're moving forward. One of the things you'll see coming forward, actually it's come forward, we'll have second reading, I think at the next meeting, is an increase in water rates. The city hasn't increased their water rates at all in over 10 years. So we had a study done. Unfortunately, as everything goes up, that will go up too. But it will also, it's designed to fund the new plant, really, is what it is. It's not the city trying to make money. It's an enterprise fund. The money stays there. It's about better water quality as we upgrade to modernized equipment. So we're working on that very diligently. Hassan Hajmari, who runs the utility, is really knows his stuff and is moving things forward in a very calculated, very distinct way. So we'll get that going. We have a couple other things we're really working tightly on. One is an issue from the past where we're bringing back up, as the commission wants, a disparity study. The disparity study is designed to take a look at how the city has been working with minority contractors, whether we're spreading the work out enough so that we're making sure that business is going to all the right places. Basically, it's minority, women, veteran-owned businesses will be what we're looking at, and to determine whether there's any programs we need to encourage, give them a little bit of a leg up on some of those things. While we do that study, staff has also been talking about other ways that we involve small business in what we do. Purchasing from the government level can be very difficult. It's wholly different from when in the private sector, somebody picks up a phone and says, hey, put together a proposal for this. I want to see what you can do. You know, we're very, very paper heavy, have a lot of requirements on what we do, because the reality is government is not designed to be efficient. It's designed to be fair and give everybody a shot. When I, by definition, have to go out further to include other people in potential to bid, it takes time, it takes money, it slows things down. One of my professors, my very first day of public administration, said, government guarantees equality, not efficiency. So we do our best to make things move quickly, but people have to bear with us. We have a process we have to follow legally. But we are working on some of that. We'd like to have some opportunities to get out into the business world and explain to people the best way to connect with the city, particularly small businesses who have a difficult time doing business with the city, because there's just not a volume there. So we're gonna work on some strategies for that, and hopefully we'll be able to work with the chamber to give some more opportunities to some of our local small businesses to make that happen. The golf course, many of you may have seen a little something about that as well. The city is working now on trying to find a good public-private partnership for the golf course. How do we get the Delray Municipal Course up to speed, updated, modernized? And we also have some raw water wells on the site. How do we get those properly updated without having an expense to the city? So we're going to put something out in a few short weeks. We've engaged the real estate firm of CBRE to help us prepare an RFP and review the submittals for that. And the intent of that is, hey, private sector, tell us if you have opportunities here where you can make some money and enough money that you can undertake these repairs and rehabilitations for us so that the city doesn't need to come out of pocket without interfering with the way the course operates, the way that people experience the course, whether they play or not, whether it's just a drive-by or not. So there are some opportunities for people to come in there and add some additional things in which they can make some money and help us pay for those needed improvements. I would expect something along those lines will be out on the street in the next 30 to 60 days, and we'll be moving on that. Hopefully that will not be the last time that we're seeking public-private partnerships. One of the things that cities are not very good at is understanding the assets that they control. We have some great assets here that can be more without imposing upon the public and help us pay for the things that the public wants. So we don't have to dip into the general fund. We don't have to borrow money. We don't have to raise fees. So we're going to look at all the opportunities that exist to make our service delivery better, make our assets better, while trying to use somebody else's dollar to do that and not give up large swaths of land or control of anything to the private sector. In a manner that is disagreeable to the way we do things. So you'll see that, and that'll come forward and be the first model for what might be coming down the pike as we do other things. One of the things that may be of issue to some of you, as of late, we've heard a lot of concerns about cleanliness in the downtown area. We are reviewing our clean and safe teams with the CRA and how they're funding a good chunk of that. to be able to provide more services. As we've had more and more visitors, we're seeing more and more trash, more and more use. The trash is spread out over a larger period of time. So we're trying to make sure we can stay on top of cleanliness so that nobody ever sees piles of trash anywhere or dirt, and we keep our streets clean, that they're safe, that everybody feels comfortable being here, that they don't see things that are unsightly, so that they continue to visit us and support all our businesses, as well as to provide that great quality of life for the folks who live here already. Never want to forget that people live here when we talk about downtown, and we all go there as well, which is something actually, I will tell you, a little different from Miami Beach. No one who lives in Miami Beach would go to Ocean Drive. They would go everywhere but. So it's a very different dynamic there. Here, I know that residents go to the restaurants on the avenue and patronize the businesses there, as well as those on side streets and elsewhere. So we're really trying to do our best to keep everything on the up and up, clean and presentable to the public.
Oh my gosh, Jeff, we should have booked a 2-hour session for you because there's so much to talk about. But I'm about to lose half of this group right now because we've got the 9 a.m. tourism master plan on. So I've got to I got to scoot in.
I'll wrap you up on one last
I need
thing.
to swoop in.
I was saving this for last. The absolute most important thing for me in my position right now, online permanent review and permitting. The Development Services Department has lots of backup. And our absolute #1 priority in the city right now is making sure all that moves online so that instead of being a linear permitting process where it goes from one person to the next, every reviewer can see it at the same time. That will save a tremendous amount of time. And then from there, and we hope to be unveiling that over the summer. And then from there, we'll move on to online permitting where anybody who needs a permit can actually apply for it at 3 o'clock in the morning while they're sitting at their computer at home. So we're moving there. We're behind the times. Many other cities already have that, but we're moving forward. And as I said, it is the #1 priority of my office to make everything available to IT and to development services to make that happen.
Jeff, you buried the lead. That's major. That is a major improvement. I know that so many of our members will be so excited to hear that. That's excellent
That
news.
was my big conclusion.
Well done.
That's key. That's absolutely
Well
key.
done.
So
I
Stephanie,
would
I have a
drop
question for
anything
Jeff.
I have if I need to work on that.
Do I have time for a question, Stephanie?
Yes, go ahead quickly, but then I need to go to Sarah. We're both about to get off for the tourism call.
Good.
And then read what the chief said, and then we've got to hear from Renee as well. Go ahead, go ahead.
So Jeff, David Beal here. As a fellow Cornellian, you know we ask him hard questions and answer them. So here's a hard question for you. As you know, cultural affairs is really an economic driver. And as you know, you've been familiar with Delray since the early 90s. You know that Old School Square has been the heart of Delray. That heart has been taken from us. What are the plans to replicate in some fashion what we lost?
Well, the city commission is going to have a workshop to discuss that, and I think it's in one of the June meetings. I apologize, I don't know the exact date of that workshop, but they're going to start to talk about where they want to go from here. What we're going to do over the summer there. When we brought forward the Boca Raton Museum, they didn't want to move forward with that, but they want to talk about doing something over the summer that's a little more Delray centric, and then start having the larger discussion about what exactly is it that the residents want and what we're going to do moving forward. I don't think there's any answers to that question right now. I think we need to talk to the public and find out what everybody's going to be happy with moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Renee, CRA, Renee Jettison, please.
Hi, I'm here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate the kind shout out to the CRA. I've known you for several years too, so really excited to have you here. So from our front tonight is First Friday Art Walk at the Arts Warehouse. So definitely come and check that out starting at 6 o'clock this evening. Also, we have an exciting collaboration that we're doing with the Chamber this afternoon. There's a ribbon cutting for Moon and Flower. So it's a tea shop that is on North Federal Highway, which doesn't get as much attention as we'd like, but we've actually seen a lot of development there. So that's just, north of where the French bakery is and also the chocolate factory, we provided a site assistance grant to this grantee to build this coffee shop. And the chamber, they're also chamber members. So we're partnering today for that ribbon cutting. And tomorrow is obviously the Green Market and also our Craft on the App. That's a series that we started earlier this year to help small businesses, crafters, not just the food vendors like at the Green Market, but crafters have a place to sell their crafts. So that's at Libby Wesley Plaza from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Also, really, really important, the CRA is going through a redevelopment plan amendment process. So every 5 or 6 years, it's good to amend your redevelopment plan, and that's where we are right now. So we're having an outreach meeting on May 19th at 6 p.m. at the Arts Warehouse. So please come, please share the word. We're really excited about this. This is an opportunity to get a say and some input on our CRA plan. We have about 17 years left. So, we're really in our last third of what we're supposed to do. So for me, I think we really need to narrow our focus on what we want to do for the last time that we have here. And our board meeting is on May 24th. We have a workshop and also a regular board meeting. That's at the Arts Warehouse starting at 2 p.m. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Oh, so I'm just reading something. Thank you, Renee. I was just reading something from Sarah Maxfield. I really wanted to get her on because of We Heart Small Biz Month, which is so important, but we both have a call at 9 o'clock that we need to get ready for. So let me just tell you quickly about We Heart Small Biz Month. This is a collaboration between the City Economic Development Department, CRA, with Renee, with the Chamber, with the DDA, with the SBDC. We had our kickoff learning session yesterday. If you didn't get to watch it real time, you've got to see it. The city will be posting it and they streamed it live yesterday. It's Social Media 101, and Mastering Creative did the course, and it's one of the best social media courses I've ever seen. They did a fabulous job, but every Thursday at 11:30, they're going to be learning sessions. Next week is mental health. We're going to be talking about funding and procurement. So we have all the partners are working together, and we're all going to be at the Green Market too, every single Saturday. So you can hear what's going on with all of the organizations that help small businesses. So We Heart Small Biz Month, super important for our businesses, and so happy to be working with all of the partners on that. So I hope I said everything that Sarah wanted to say, but you'll be hearing a lot from all of us for We Heart Small Biz Month. Okay. And the chief sent a note. He had to run off quickly too, but crime is down over 5%, which is good. In the recent past, we've had 85 overdoses, which is actually a decrease, but the choice of drug of choice is fentanyl. And also the Marine unit they have has been patrolling the intercoastal for the past few weekends. So that's important to know that, land, sea, and air, our police department are looking out for us. And I think that's all I had from the comments on the side. Yes. Oh, Elizabeth. Yes, she downloaded the Chamber of Commerce report. Elizabeth, do you want to talk about it quickly?
She left, I think.
Yes, darn it. Okay, the planning zoning report is in the comments section, so you can take a look at that. And sorry, now over to you, David. Did we miss anyone?
Steve Weissman, I think, is still on the call. No, Steve?
Yes, I am. So just a couple of things. The CPI for 2022 was 7%, so therefore the cap for homesteaded properties is 3%. Of course, the cap for non-homesteaded properties is 10%. Look for any assessments to go up that amount, because for any new construction or anything that somebody has bought a home this year, the only thing we've taken a pass at so far is single family detached, and plan on a north of 20% value increase. And that's just preliminary. It could go up from there, because in case you didn't read the news in the last couple of days, Miami, Florida has surpassed New York in the most expensive rental market, and we're not that far behind. The only other thing is the estimates will be delivered to the taxing authorities on the 27th, which is the same day as the League of Cities, where Dorothy will be speaking. So it's going to be interesting. If pretty much means if the millage rates stay the same, a lot of people's taxes could go up a lot. That has nothing to do with our office. That's your taxing authorities. The other thing that when Jeff was talking about online permits, our permit portal where the municipalities and submit permits to us is open. Very shortly, we're sort of tweaking it. You will be able, Jeff, to look at it and go in. And there's another little surprise we're working on that if you are participating in the permit portal that you'll also be able to see. So if you want to see what's happening with values in Delray, you'll be able to look at that too, but that's coming very soon.
Okay, thank you, Steve. I think that's all we have time for, Stephanie. So you can go to your meeting, and we wish you all a good weekend and a good month until first Friday in June. Who will have Stephanie?
Joseph, I put it in the comments. We'll have County Clerk Joseph Abruzzo. He'll be on next Friday, that next Friday forum on June 3rd. And thank you again to Jeff Oris. We could have gone on for another hour. There's so many things in the city to discuss. It's super interesting to me. And we're really happy to have you on to hear about all of it. Thank
Great
you.
enthusiasm. Thank you.
Okay,
everybody.
bye guys. I got to go to my meeting. Bye, everyone.